Hello traders and welcome back to another Conquer FX YouTube video. Today we're going to be doing a talk about ego. Now, if you are an early follower here, an early adopter of my content, you will recognize this illustration here. We used to break down complex psychological problems and try to make them a little bit more simpler to understand. What I'm going to be doing this time is actually creating a YouTube series about this. There will be over around 50 different topics, around 50 to 60 different topics, and we'll be discussing them all in detail over the next coming weeks. So let's get straight into this. If you like our content, please subscribe, please like the video and comment down below any other psychological issues you may be experiencing so we can possibly create a video for you and help you with your own personal psychological problems. So today we're going to be talking, like I said, about the ego. And the ego is a very, very interesting topic in trading. Because at some points, the ego will help us and protect us and bring us back from periods of drawdown as we refuse to give up. But then in other times, and in most cases, it is doing more harm than good. And what you need to realize is, and just a quick breakdown of this illustration in front of you, is, to truly see greatness in trading, you must understand your ego is both your friend, but also your biggest enemy. Understanding how to control your ego will help you have a clearer vision of what is actually happening in the market, what is happening with your own behavioral patterns, and it will actually help you develop more as a trader and perform better over the long term. And at the end of the day, this game is about making money, not being right, which we're going to discuss in this video as well. Now, people believe that the market is out to get them, when in reality, it is really themselves that are holding them. You're actually holding yourself back. It's not the market. But our ego tends to shift our focus more to the market, because if we had to accept that we were the problem and that we must improve, we have to put ourselves in a vulnerable situation to grow. Our brain does not like this. That is, not comfortable for our brain. Our brain is constantly seeking comfort. So when we kind of understand why we start looking for all these outside sources, it helps us shift our focus a little bit more to ourselves and say, listen, if I don't start looking at myself, if I do not remove the ego, this cycle will never end. And sometimes the experiences that you go through will not be brutal enough for you to make a change. That is why you see a lot of successful traders, they ended up blowing up hundreds of thousands and, wasting a lot of money, making plenty of mistakes until the mistakes they were making became so uncomfortable that their brain forced them to change, forced them to look within at their own problems, which ultimately has now, given them their career today, or given them their success today by simply making this change. Now, a question that I want to ask you is, do you want to be right or do you want to make money? Because you can be right, but you can also lose money, and being right doesn't mean that you're always going to make more money. People don't really understand what it means by, do you want to be right or do you want to make money? Because like I said, you can lose money while being right at the same time. You can be correct about that this market is going to head to the upside, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to time the entry correctly. It doesn't necessarily mean your stop loss is going to be in the ideal area where you're protected by all fluctuations of the market. These are the day-to-day battles that we take on as traders, but you have to understand that this game is about making money. It's not about being right. It's completely two different perspectives here that professional traders, successful traders are working with, compared to the everyday beginner, who is more focused on being right and protecting their own character and how they view themselves, rather than actually saying, fuck this, I need to look within, I need to look at my own impulsive behaviors, my own toxic behaviors and toxic beliefs about money and the market. I need to improve these. I need to improve my overall identity. Now, Albert Einstein has this really, really great quote, And it goes something like, and this is not perfect here, but it says, more the knowledge, lesser the ego. Lesser the knowledge, more the ego. And basically what he's saying is, the more knowledge you pick up, the more experience you pick up, the better you become, your ego is going to become less and less, because you're going to start to understand this game on a different level to everyone else. As a beginner, you come into this game quite vulnerable. You're open to really anyone who is willing to help you. You might not get the best educational experiences, you might not get the best guidance, and overall, you'll realistically not have enough knowledge to really understand how the game works from a statistical point of view, from a probability point of view, psychological point of view, behavioral point of view. Okay. And the less of the knowledge you have, the more the ego, because instead of looking within, trying to learn about your own emotional triggers, instead of trying to build confidence through trading with statistics, or really going out and gaining the knowledge of building a system, working with probabilities, and we tend to start looking at all these other outside sources to protect our own character. Our subconscious mind is built, our character, our identity. It holds our beliefs about ourselves, who we think we are, how great we think we are. And every time we take a loss, this kind of fight and flight kind of comes into play, and it can be damaging to our character. And our subconscious does not want to damage our character, because once again, it means that you will have to seek discomfort to improve. It means that these experiences are proving that, hey, you might not be the person that you think you are. And we don't want to do that, because that is very, very uncomfortable for the brain. But when you understand what the ego is, and in the most simplest form, the ego is part of a person's mind, okay, that basically tries to match the wishes or desires of the unconscious mind with the demands of the real world. Okay, so basically what it's trying to do on a day-to-day basis is it's really trying to be the person that you believe the current world demands. And when you understand that, you understand how you were wired from a young age to believe that I have to be right. Your grades and how smart you are were based off being right. How well you got paid in a job, or how good of an employee you were or are, is paid on how correctly you do your job. And this is why a lot of smart people, very smart individuals, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be great at trading. Because it's funny, they tend to assign the idea that if they bring more brain power to a certain action or to a certain activity, they will tend to be more right, or they will tend to get better results. But in trading, more brain power doesn't necessarily mean better results. Rather, the person who's able to perform under stress has done the back end work of understanding the probabilities and now can execute. The performer is the individual that's realistically going to do better than the person assigning more brain power, and probably do it better for a longer term as well. Because another thing that we forget, and this isn't about ego here, but it's more about willpower. When you look at willpower is like a muscle, and willpower takes basically it takes a lot of energy when it comes to brain power itself. So willpower and brain power. Okay, so excuse me, I'm going off topic there a little bit. But when it comes to willpower, the more willpower we need, the less thinking power we have. So just like a muscle, when you're in the gym, the more reps you do, your muscles become more and more and more tired, and they need to actually rest. And this is specifically, this is linked to willpower. You can use this analogy when it comes to willpower, because on a day-to-day basis, we have to make important decisions. We have to make important decisions on the chart. Do we want to enter this trade? The more you sit at the chart, the more you assign brain power to the activity of trading, and the less thinking power you have as the day carries out. So we want to limit the amount of brain power we're using on a day-to-day basis to really be able to react and basically have an open mind to what's going on. And then this obviously then links back into ego. because when we're able to have a clearer mind by removing the ego, we realize that this is a performance field. It's not about being right. It's not about me calling the market to the exact pip or calling it, with sniper entries. It's not about that. This is bullshit. This is all, conditioned through all of this stuff you see on social media. It's not real life. This game is about making money. You have a one-to-one risk reward strategy. Amazing. You can make money out of that. Great. It doesn't matter about these 100-hour, 50-hour strategies. It's not realistic. It won't last. And if these individuals were so good, they should go off and raise funding. But for some reason, none of them do. Now, when it comes to how can you determine if your ego is coming into play while you are trading, a few of these things, and like I said before, what is the ego? The ego is part of a person's mind that basically tries to match the wishes or even the desires of the unconscious mind without or with the demands of the real world. So this would be your identity. Your ego will be very defensive about what it believes to be true. So, is your ego a problem? Well, are you attached to the outcome of a trade? So you want to be right or wrong, or you expect the trade to be right or wrong. This is an ego problem. Do you take your losses personally? Do you think the market's out to get you, rather than actually just looking within and saying, nobody pulled that trigger. This is my own problem. I need to work on this psychologically and technically. Are you focusing on your P&L as soon as you get into a trade? Are you looking at the bottom right hand of your desktop and looking at the P&L fluctuate? Are you trading this to make sure that you get back to your starting balance, or that you're back at a standard of a percentage of the month that you're happy with because it looks good, rather than actually focusing on trading well and seeing what your true potential may hold? Do you need your analysis to be right? Are you sharing your analysis online and saying, shit, I need this analysis to be right, or, other people are going to think I can't trade. And here's the thing. If people are looking at your analysis and you get it wrong once a week, twice a week, maybe you've even got it wrong consistently over the last month, and they're judging your trading off that, well, that's complete bullshit. And you can put them to the side, because you'll understand that they don't understand the game. Now, if I was looking at you over 6 months to a year and you're consistently losing, you can bet that I'm going to fade every single one of your ideas. But that's what I mean. You need a large enough sample size for this. So you need to stop focusing on this analysis needs to be correct right now. Understand the probabilities. And that's what kind of brings me into, how can you keep your ego under control when trading? This is what we want to talk about, the solution to all this. And really, you have to understand your why for trading in the first place. So this will dig you out of deep holes of drawdowns, on your most difficult days. Will remind you that, hey, listen, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this. The purpose has to be bigger than money. The purpose has to be bigger than you. It has to be something that really gets you out of bed in the morning. If you struggle to find your why, the best way to do it is you have to become a little bit more aware of your actions when you're not motivated. So let's just say you're sitting on the couch and you get this spike that you need to do something. Try and take a few steps back and basically understand, what was that thought I had that made me move without even thinking, that made me basically forget how tired I was. That is usually a very strong why to work with, as it broke you out of that toxic cycle without even thinking subconsciously. Understanding your strategy and your numbers. This is another big thing. I always talk about the statistical side of trading and the confidence it can bring you. People struggle saying, how do I work with a probability mindset? Well, how can you work with a probability mindset if you don't understand the probabilities behind your trade? I can tell you why this pattern works. I can tell you the statistics behind it. I can tell you when it's usually going to fail. I can tell you how I'm going to trade it, and I'll know all the numbers behind that. And that allows me to arrive at the desk every single day. And instead of being right, I'm working with the numbers. I'm working with the 70% or the 30% failure. If it's a failure, I'm saying that, okay, well, that was just the negative side of the sample size. Is there anything I can do wrong? And then or is there anything I could do better? Well, then I start looking at within, and I start looking to improve, instead of looking at the market saying that, listen, this market is against me, blah, 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 and all this other bullshit. You always have to, you have to remember that the market is always right. Okay. It is right. It doesn't care about you. You are completely irrelevant. Some of you may even be trading with brokers where your actual transactions and executions that you're making, they don't even reach the actual market itself. You know, and you have to just detach yourself from the idea that, you know, individual trade results, you know, or these trade results are a reflection of yourself as a person, because that's not the case. I describe it as you want to take this sample size as one pixel that makes up an entire picture. So we have hundreds and thousands of pixels that make up an entire image. And that's how irrelevant this one trade idea is. Now, it obviously will become more relevant if you're risking 100% of your account. But that is why we focus on risk management. It's about surviving the longer term game. It's about surviving the next 1,000 trades, not this one single trade. And if you're struggling with that, well, this is another thing we'll talk about in a later date, that this is realistically a capital issue. You know, you need capital to trade. If you can't afford the €1,000 mentorship, you can't afford a €500 course to educate yourself, realistically, you should not be trading. And that's a very, very hard truth. You're not at that level yet. So if you want to be a trader and you're not at that level, you should be going out and building the cash flow business, or you should be going out and starting to build capital, getting a second job, putting your time into something that's going to give you the money and the capital that you need to start educating yourself. And then you can continue to build using whatever method you did to originally get that capital to educate yourself, to then build your trading account. This is the thing. People don't want to work anymore. When, you know, I was working 4 jobs to build my first initial capital for trading. You know, you should aim for at least 5,000 to 10,000 euro. You'll find that a lot of your psychological issues that are linked to capital will tend to kind of go away then, because you seem like you're getting a bit more meat for the work that you're putting in. Remain objective in your trading by implementing rule-based processes. So create flowcharts, checklists. The military use checklists on a day-to-day basis to make sure that there is no human error involved. They develop processes that on a day-to-day basis, they can come in, there's no thinking involved, it's reacting. That this, and this needs to be done. If this happens, we will do this, and this. If this happens, we will do this, and this. There's a plan, there's a process, you need to build that. That removes ego, that keeps you process-driven, that keeps you focused on the goal of a trader, which is to be and perform to the best of your ability. You also need to acknowledge that you will not win every trade. This is a long game and your goal is to survive. Please understand that traders and, you know, even some of the top performers, they will not win every single day. They are focused on the one trade today. They're focused on their longer term vision. And traders will lose on a temporary basis, you know, but it's more about doing the right things for a long time strategically. Okay, so it's like business. If you can do the boring things longer than everyone else with more, you know, thought process behind it, and more consistently than everyone else, you will succeed. A lot of the time, success is linked to just being boring than everyone else. Can you come to the desk every single day and do the same boring thing every single day and let the compounding effect play out? It's like trying to get a 6-pack. It's like trying to, you know, fix your diet and lose weight. It's literally about arriving up, eating the same shit every day, eating the same amount of calories every day, monitoring your performance and adjusting as you need to, not just because you feel you need to. You know, all ego driven again. You know, and before we finish here, I want you all to realize that when it comes to the ego and when it comes to that quote that I said about Albert Einstein, more knowledge, lesser the ego, lesser the knowledge, more the ego. You need to remember that you are not born a master. Nobody is born a master. You evolve into one. You evolve into one with the actions you take on a daily basis, the amount of time you put into perfecting your craft, how quickly you learn from your lessons. All of these things compounding over a long period of time and doing them more consistently than anyone else develops trading excellence. So overall, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I would really, really appreciate it. And yeah, let's hear your comments down below. You know, if you disagree, if you do agree, if you have any other insights into the ego, or if you have any questions about, you know, anything here discussed in the video, even trade or even YouTube video ideas, leave them in the comments below. We can have a conversation and we will see you in the next one.